podcaster, entertainer, philosopher, comedian, Mike Usenick. Usenick Unleashed.
How you like that professional shit right there, huh?
Nice.
Dude, we haven't
Smooth.
we haven't actually been able to talk actually physically, so it's nice to actually chat with you instead of on Discord.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been looking forward to it.
Me too, because I'll be honest, I'm somewhat new to the occult and everything about it, and it's fun diving in and realizing that like everything you're told about certain belief systems is a fabrication to scare people. And it's very interesting to learn exactly what these belief systems are. Because I was raised a Christian. Sorry, my phone's going off. I was raised Christian, and we were always told that like Satanists are evil. And then as I got older,
Sorry to interrupt you, but there's some kind of tinniness with the mic.
Can you hear me?
I can mostly hear you, but it's garbled up.
Let's try this. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
It's my actual physical mic, but I can edit that out. I normally don't edit, but I will this time.
So yeah, if you could just repeat that.
Yes. What I was saying is it's very interesting. The more you dive in with an open mind into the occult, that most public things that are stated or from a majority eye is all fabrications when it comes to the negative outlook on like Luciferianism and Satanism, and most don't realize that they're very separate entities altogether.
Yeah, they're two separate things in most cases. There are some groups out there that refer to Luciferianism as a type of Satanism, and they're sincere about what they believe, but I think that that's not the majority. I think that most Luciferians consider it a separate thing from Satanism.
And I've noticed some satanic groups are more Luciferian, but they still use the term Satan because they're still adversarial.
Right. So now the word Lucifer is a Latin word, and it literally means bringer of light or light bearer. And the word Satan is Hebrew, and it means adversary.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have the word adversary, that is basically a reference to Satan, whereas a bringer of light is a reference to Lucifer.
And wasn't Lucifer a Roman deity, if I'm not mistaken, symbolic of Venus?
Yes, exactly. So in a very specific instance, though, so when when Venus is the last bright object in the night sky just before the sun rises,
mm-hmm.
that's referred to as the morning star.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's not technically a star, back in the day, they considered planets to be wandering stars.
Mm-hmm.
And so it still kind of fits. But they called it the morning star. But the word that they used in the ancient Rome,
Ancient Rome, yeah.
But the word that they used back then was the word Lucifer.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of did my own little deep dive research, and I know that stuff, but it's nice hearing it from another person, because there's a lot of times where people say that's your personal interpretation, which it is. It's mine and your interpretation, but you can't dispute historical facts.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't originally a Christian thing, or even Jewish.
Phosphorus was also, if I'm not mistaken, the evening star. Well, actually, Phosphorus and Eurosphorus, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, correct me, because my pronunciation on different things might be off. But Eosphorus was the star at night, whereas the other one was the star in the morning.
Exactly, yeah, in Greek, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, one of the books that I contributed a chapter to was called Wisdom of Eosphoros.
I've seen that book. You did that with Michael W. Ford, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
It's currently out of print, but I believe most of the material from that book got updated and rewritten and expanded into what's now Apotheosis, I believe, by Michael Ford.
Mm-hmm.
So most of that same material can still be found.
I know you guys.
If you're looking for it.
I know you guys formed together the Greater Church of Lucifer, or was that just him that formed it and you're president?
No, it was originally formed by somebody that nobody really knew, who ended up being a bad person. And
I don't know them.
I don't know. I'm getting that tinniness again. I'm starting to wonder.
It might be your mic. It might be fucking up. I don't know.
Is it my?
You and your you and technology is beautiful. First your microphone, and if you watch this guy's YouTube channel, you know what I mean. First his microphone was all fucked up. Now it's a hearing.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on there, but
Can you hear me properly?
It went away. Yep.
Maybe you have tinnitus.
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
But I find that quite interesting because some might argue that most older religious beliefs was just astrological worship. It was the worship of like suns, moons, planets, and they manifested that into archetypes to symbolically represent those astrological entities.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool line of study. How those things, how they found patterns in the stars, and they were tracking these things because they were like, what even is that, that I'm seeing up in the sky, and why do some of them move in different ways than other ones? And they end up forming stories about it. And sometimes they could potentially have been using their advanced ability to predict events as almost like staging events where they could prove that they were communicating with the gods.
And that's interesting because it's not just astrological worship either. There's a lot of nature-based things that they were paying attention to and worshiping as gods as well, like Pan, Cernunnos, or even the Green Man.
Yeah, for sure. That's more often the farmers and such. They get really into, because they're connected with the land, right? Mm-hmm. It's their lifeblood, and so they get really in tune with it, and then over time develop certain ways of honoring it or creating anthropomorphized ideas or thought forms around the different things. And
astonishing, you have a very astonishing library, by the way, I must state. You use very large words. It's not what my pea brains used to. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry to interrupt. I'm quite amazed by your vocabulary. You must be Canadian.
Yeah, I am, yeah.
But so how would you state that your current Novus Ordo Luciferi is different than the practices of Michael W. Ford's of this world, like the Greater Church of Lucifer, for instance, or whatever he calls it now? What's his name for it now? I forget.
Well, we both joined it, and we both ended up being co-presidents of the order, and along with his wife, Hope Marie Ford. And we were running it and we kicked the other guy out because he was no good. And we changed the name of it to Assembly of Light Bearers.
Okay.
And that technically it still exists, but it's more just an open source thing that people can take resources from and learn and that sort of thing. Michael W. Ford has an esoteric order that he had started a long time ago called the Order of Phosphorus. And that's been around for a long time, and it continues to be around.
Mm-hmm.
So that's his main group, that I believe, right now.
Okay, I was confused because I knew he had the Assembly of Light Bearers and the Order of Phosphorus. I just didn't know which one he currently had.
Yeah, so nobody really has Assembly of Light Bearers anymore. Like I said, it technically exists, and we are co-presidents of it, along with Hope Marie Ford, but we're not actively doing anything with that project.
How does your current administration, or what would you consider Novus Ordo Luciferi?
Oh, I refer to it as a Gnostic Luciferian order, and it focuses on learning a system of occultism that I've personally developed over my roughly 3 decades of practicing occultism. And over that time, evolve the practices that I was performing and learning and trying out. And over time, I basically developed my own system, and I refer to that system as Luciferian alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has a lot of alchemical principles, and the whole goal of that system is to take you through the alchemical process, ultimately, where you have refined all the different individual parts of yourself and healed any parts that needed healing, and to reintegrate it all together into a whole that is, I call it the complete harmonized self. But in alchemy, you would refer to it as the quintessence or the fifth element.
Mm-hmm.
And quintessence, and even in the modern sense of the quintessential parts of yourself are elevated. And that's the goal. It's like similar to individuation, or another word for it is apotheosis. So essentially becoming a god, becoming achieving some of the highest potentials you have inherent in you.
You're basically chasing your internal philosopher's stone, in a sense.
Yeah, you're trying to transform yourself into the philosopher's stone, in a sense.
Yes. But by the way, I did print this out. I saw that you had this. I brought this in handy. Your little.
Oh, cool.
I read it a little bit, and it's very interesting. And guys, you can actually get this for free. I'm not sure what the website is offhand, but you can go to Jeremy Crow's Facebook page, and he has it posted there, correct?
I think so, yeah.
I think that's where I found it. Before we go too far down the rabbit hole of conversation, which I tend to do once I get comfortable with guests, I would like to give a little shout out to your website. If you guys are interested in finding out more about Gnostic Luciferianism or joining, you can join right here. Hold on, once it pops up. The Novus Ordo Luciferi. It is $5 a month, correct?
That's right, $5 per month. And you get access to a huge library of recorded video courses. So what we do, and it's growing. Tonight we're doing one later tonight, where we'll have a private meeting for members that they can attend, and they can take a course live, different topics. We did one on lucid dreaming. And that ended up being, I think, 8 hours of pre-recorded video, or recorded live initially, but now it's available to members. And there's another one that's a similar length on tarot, and it goes through the history, what the composition of a deck is, how to use it in divination, and how to use it in magic as well, beyond just fortune telling, And there's a bunch of different courses that are available, and as I said, continues to grow. And I think right now, before tonight, it's about 50 hours worth of recorded courses that have been added to the catalog. And on top of that, you get unlimited access to all of that instantly when you join. And on top of that, all the written material, which there's teachings and practices for Luciferian alchemy, unique rituals and energy work practices that I've developed over my own practice, through my own practice and experimentation. And you get access to private casual hangouts as well with other members, where we can just talk about whatever we feel like, and they're not recorded, and we can chat about whatever we feel like. There's opportunities for people to ask me questions or each other questions, and it's really fun. I know some people have said that they would pay the $5 just for this, for that part alone, the social part.
It sounds like you get your money's worth.
What's that?
Sounds like you get your money's worth.
Oh yeah, I think so. And we keep stacking value.
You're over here like $5 for the Netflix of occult. Just take it.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, I found a link to the pamphlet. It's
oh, cool.
Yes, it's at jeremycrow.storenvy.com.
Yep. So you can download the PDF file, the printable PDF file, for free, and print it out. And there's one cut that needs to be made, and then the rest is folding. But there's also, I think there's a link to a short video on how to fold it properly. And it's just a single page. What's that?
I had to watch the video.
Oh yeah. It's a little, it's not intuitive. I gave somebody one that wasn't folded yet because I didn't have a chance to fold it, and then he tried to fold it in front of me, and I was like, "You're not going to be able to do it because it needs a cut." And he goes, "Oh, I think I can. I think I can do it." And then it turned out like completely wrong. I was like, "If that works for you, then that's fine."
I had instructions and I got it all lopsided. And like I was doing origami. I was going to end up with a damn like crow by the end of this.
That would be cool.
By the way, I did take a little herbal medicine before this, and I decided to just look you up to see what Google says, right?
Okay.
And did you know that you share a name with a cartoon character?
I think I have seen that. Jeremy the Crow or something like that.
Yeah, Jeremy Crow from I forget what movie, but it's this whimsical crow that's like, he's very whimsical and funny, and he's allergic to cats. I don't know if you share anything familiar with that Jeremy Crow, but
I have a very mild allergy to cats, but it's barely there. I have cats, and it doesn't really bother me. So unless I'm directly like scratching them, and then I directly start rubbing it into my eyes, then I probably will get itchy eyes, but otherwise it doesn't bother me. It used to bother me more when I was younger, but I guess I grew out of it.
I'm allergic to cats too, but like, I find it. Have you not seen this movie?
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie.
I think we need to have a movie night on Discord because.
Yeah, we should. It would be fun. I was thinking about that the other day because I was doing some painting on my house. One of the rooms I was trying to get painted because the paint that was there before was garbage. And I'd been wanting to paint it for a long time. So anyways, I was painting the walls, and I was on my phone. I put, what is it? The Ninth Gate movie. I put that on my phone so that it could just be kind of in the room when I was painting. And I was like, really enjoyed this movie. And I thought it would be made me think of movie nights on the Discord, because we had done that a couple times before and it was pretty fun. But that might be a good one to do, is
I'll send you
Ninth Gate, but also that one that's got the character with my name in it.
I'll have to send you what the name of it is. It's something of Nim.
Oh yeah, Secret of Nim, or
I think it might be Secret of Nim. I know he was one of the main characters in the second one. He's a side character in the first one.
maybe I did see it a long time ago.
Yeah, it's. I saw little bits and pieces, and it's quite entertaining from what I've seen. But what's crazy is what year were you born? Because I'm going to see how close to the year you were born that this movie came out.
78.
Okay, close, but no cigar. 1983.
Oh, okay. So I would have been like 6, I guess.
You actually look really good for being older than me. You look what is your secret? Are you a vampire?
No, a werewolf.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. Because I hear the terms thrown around a lot, vampire and werewolf. And for people that don't know, including myself, esoterically, as in symbolically, what does that mean to you guys? You don't not walk around drinking blood and living forever in a technical sense, correct?
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of different variants. So there's one type of esoteric vampire or occult type of vampire where they learn to work with energy, and often they will feed off of the energy of an event or something, and they try and do it in an intentional way, and not just the unconscious way that most people will kind of get a rush when they go to like a crazy party or something, right? But they will do esoteric practices specifically to feed off of that energy intentionally, or absorb some of it for their own uses, I guess. Usually it's because they have some sort of they get run down.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one way that they've learned to help compensate for it.
So it's kind of like that vampire from What We Do in the Shadows.
The psychic vampire? Yeah. Yeah. I love that show. It's so funny.
Me too. Where he has that entire garden of like vulvas. Like, who's that one? He's like, that's my mom.
Oh no. I haven't seen very much of it, but I want to see more of it. The movie was hilarious, and then the show is really funny too, but I haven't seen too much of the show yet.
I prefer the show over the movie, believe it or not.
Oh yeah?
I love it. It's so hilarious. There's this episode. I'm not going to go too far because I don't want to spoil anything for you. So let's just not do that. Because if you let me, I will.
So there's another type of vampire. I'll quickly avoid the spoiler. So there's another type of vampire that I think Michael Ford talks about this, where it's a type of shadow work or inner work where you will explore inner aspects of yourself and parts of yourself that may be unintegrated or rejected by the sense of self in some way. And then you can kind of go internally into yourself, find that part of yourself, and seek to initiate a healing and ultimately a reintegration. And some people visualize that as almost like the vampire vamping, the shadow aspect and absorbing it and transmuting it that way through integrating it.
That's neat.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a cool way of looking at it. I'm probably really wrong though when I'm saying that. I probably just made that up, but it sounds cool. No, I think that I think it's something like that. I'm not. Like I said, I'm not a vampire.
I'm not. When I thought vampire, though, like when I was younger, like most people, when they first started getting into the occult or trying to learn like other ways, if you're in like a very religious area, you'd pick up a copy of the Satanic Bible. And when vampires mentioned there, it's to symbolically describe somebody who drains your energy. So
that's right. Yeah. So Anton LaVey, he says to avoid psychic vampires. Mm-hmm. And what he means by that is either unintentional or intentional people who end up using manipulation tactics to physically drain a person, or mentally and emotionally drain a person, I should say, which then works its way into the body as well. Mm-hmm. And this can be because they are on a power trip, or they are, they have some kind of trauma that they're working through, and it doesn't even have anything to do with you. Or they could be intentionally trying to steal your energy in a sense. And they will often get energized by this. And so people like that are considered to be the bad type of psychic vampire, where you want to avoid somebody who's just stealing your energy and draining you for their own benefit.
With anything, though, like there's always a bad side and there's always a good side to almost any situation or any type of person. So you have to be aware of both, like that you're not getting the bad, more of the bad than the good. Perhaps in the magical systems, there is no good or bad. It's just how you interpret it.
Yeah. So a werewolf,
go ahead.
That would be the way I like to look at it, at least. We'll start with that. Is how a person, a human, a modern human, is arguably a domesticated animal for the most part.
Well, look at us though. All these wars we start, it's not very arguable because you lose the argument.
Yeah, you'd probably lose that argument if you said otherwise. Exactly. But, at one point there was a wild nature version of humans, and there still are to some extent. Humans that live tribal existences in a very traditional way are not domesticated in the same sense as somebody who lives in a permanent house, and would have a hard time surviving in the wild, but without modern conveniences, to help them through it. A werewolf could be somebody who has tried to reconnect with their own wild nature and integrate that part of themselves in a healthy way into their persona, you could say, rewilding in a sense, giving that part that has sort of atrophied in us, giving it expression and giving it a place within the self.
That's so interesting, because like if you were to tell like somebody without explanation, I'm a werewolf, they're like, what do you do? Like wake up randomly in the morning naked, covered in leaves?
Right.
They wouldn't understand.
Right. No, it's more of a poetic way of describing something, you know.
Honestly, the human mind thinks in a very symbolic and poetic way, so I don't understand why we don't speak that way.
Yeah, like storytelling is such a huge part of the human experience.
But we take things so literal. Like, we're like, oh, what do you mean by werewolf? Do you turn all hairy? No. Think of it what a werewolf is.
Right. It's you know, a human who usually in the stories, it's a human who has a disconnect with their wild nature, and it occasionally overtakes them, and they have no control and they go wild, right? Now, there are other types of werewolves in fiction that I'm talking about here that will be able to control their transformations. And the goal, as a recognizing that we are all this werewolf at the beginning, you know, that we can go on a journey to learn to integrate that part of ourselves so that it doesn't just take over and go against the other parts of the self. It's given a healthy expression. It knows the proper way to come out and when. And that would be like a poetic way of describing that journey to reintegrate the more wild, unsophisticated, or uncivilized part of the self. And I mean those terms in a very technical way, like before the type of human that would have existed before civilization. It's still in our DNA. Well, it hasn't been that long for us to evolve out of that genetic code. That the people who, according to anthropology, humans who lived for hundreds of thousands of years before civilization as we know it, in terms of cities and people living in permanent housing structures and that sort of thing, and specialization of knowledge amongst individuals that all work as a community like that in large cities rather than just individual tribes. That hasn't been that long evolutionarily. So we are still biologically that wild great ape called Homo sapien sapien. And if we can recognize that there are parts of ourselves that have kind of sunk below the level of conscious acknowledgement, you could say, because they are so atrophied, but they're there. Mm-hmm. They're part of us. And so we can go on this journey to become that werewolf that can transform at will, rather than occasionally the beast comes out and goes nuts. And, it's so explosive because it's been in there unexpressed for so long that it just bursts out and goes nuts.
Very interesting viewpoint, and honestly something that I've seen a lot in life, because we as humans, if you sit back and look at us as a species and look at life and everything, I know not everybody consumes cannabis, but if you're able to look at life as an outsider, really, you realize that we're just no different than an ape. We're no different than any other animal. We are all these animals, but for some reason, a majority, not everyone, but a majority of people forget that and think we're better than other things and try to fight. Like, we're sitting here, we're like, we would like for like organizations, at least me, to pollute less and take care of the environment more. I'm not saying to get rid of the industries, but find better ways to do them to take care of other animals. And people are like, oh, well, who cares? We live here, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
That is us. We are animals, is what I'm trying
We are, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And that's something that you find in the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey.
We're going to keep referencing Anton.
It was a book that was very influential and continues to be. And a lot of people, it's their first introduction to anything outside of, what we usually refer to as the right-hand path. The institutionalized religions that are out there, especially that he was kind of mocking that whole thing and giving an alternative viewpoint that was more recognizing of the carnal nature of humanity.
And I think timing was perfect because that was like during the Satanic Panic, like it was during all of that, like which we're still dealing with. And also to add to what you're saying, he was an easy introduction for many because Aleister Crowley's hard to read. Let's be honest, for a lot of people. So if you dumb it down a little bit and you give it more edge, as people would call it, a lot of angsty teens and people that are upset about the way the right-hand path was going at the time will resort to that.
Yep. And there is a section in that book on Lucifer. The Book of Lucifer, I think, is like within the Satanic Bible. And he refers to him as like the spirit of air because he gives 4 main devils, and assigns an element to each of them. And that's kind of like part of the format that he created for that book and for the Church of Satan. So you have people that connect, obviously, in people's minds, Lucifer and Satan is the same thing. In a lot of people's minds, in most, you go and ask somebody on the street, what is Satan and what is Lucifer? And they'll say, oh, that's the devil, both of them. It's just different names for the same thing. Or sometimes you'll get people saying, Lucifer is the name of the angel that fell, and then when he fell, he was renamed Satan.
That's not even the same mythos. Samael was the one. Get your mythologies right, people.
Yeah, so that's because it's what's pushed in pop culture. Even John Milton basically used that same concept. But if you look in the Bible, the word Lucifer, for one thing, it's a Latin word. Mm-hmm. So why would there be a Latin word in books that were written in Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek? Why would there be a Latin word in there? It's because that's not what the word was.
It was Halel.
Yeah, exactly. Halel, Ben Halel, or something like that. And that's the original word that was used in the book of Isaiah, right? And then when it got translated into Latin for the Vulgate edition of the Bible, that was one of many instances where a word in the original text was translated into the Latin word Lucifer. Mm-hmm. And it got used multiple times in the Bible, in the books of the Bible, if you look in the Vulgate edition. And now with computers, you can do a search. You can look up Lucifer in the Latin Vulgate and you can see how many times it was used in the Bible. And it was more than just once.
Mm-hmm. It was also used, if I'm not mistaken, in the New Testament to describe Jesus himself.
Yeah, in 2 spots in the New Testament, mm-hmm. It was used to refer to Jesus. In the 2nd book of Peter, I can't remember the chapter and the verse right now, but
take me to church.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure it can be found if you want to look for it. There is a passage where they say something along the lines of, you need to rely on the words of the prophets and wise people that came before until such point as Lucifer rises in your heart.
Are they reading that at a Catholic school?
And yeah, exactly. They probably wouldn't let them read that one or something. But in the traditional interpretation is that was a reference to Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Well, even in Revelation, they mention it again. I think it's 23:16. That's the one that I like to quote because it's Jesus speaking to, I think, his disciples, or I forget who he's talking to, but he states, "For it is I, the offspring of David, the bright morning star," which is interesting because David is an offspring or a descendant of King Solomon who summoned demons.
Yeah, that's right. And there's this whole kind of folkloric understanding of the Adam and Eve story, or more, I should probably say, well, yeah, the Adam and Eve and their children. So what this is, and I kind of stumbled upon it, and I was like contemplating the symbolism of Genesis, you know, and it kind of came to me, that's interesting. And then I was reading a book of the Kabbalah called the Zohar, and I found a reference to that same idea in there. And I was like, oh, I was right. But the idea here was that the serpent in Eden, it's often said that the serpent seduced Eve, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, take that a little more literally than usually people mean it.
Mm-hmm.
And you think of, okay, well, there's this serpent, which is a phallic symbol to begin with. Mm-hmm. And you have a tree that is also kind of a phallic symbol, the tree trunk, right? And it's the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Knowledge, if you turn that into a verb, to know, that gets used in that same book of the Bible, Genesis, as a euphemism for sex.
Very interesting.
Right? So Noah knew his wife and she bore him a son or whatever, right?
Wow.
And people even say it now, oh, they know them in the biblical sense. Mm-hmm. Right? And so you have the tree of knowledge. The tree that right. The tree of reproduction, maybe, you know.
But wouldn't that be the tree of life? Or is it the same tree?
No, it's a different tree. So the knowledge of creation.
Oh, okay.
And the other one was supposed to be the tree of eternal life.
Okay.
So the ability to create was one tree, essentially. And the other tree was supposed to grant eternal life or something. And that's why they got kicked out before they could eat from the tree of life as well.
We all want to have sex, but nobody wants to live forever, Jeremy.
Yeah. Some people do. There's vampires that do. Actually, there's a group called the Temple of the Vampire that is sort of associated with the Church of Satan. Not officially, but they're kind of tied together. Sort of.
I seen them and I got kind of confused because the Satanic Bible talks against vampires. And then
yeah, isn't that funny?
Like, what happened there? And I also found that Anton LaVey always called himself an atheistic Satanist, but he sometimes would refer to Satan as a literal being.
Yeah, there's a lot of confusion there and a lot of debate. And maybe that's what he wanted. He's the type that definitely say contradictory things to get people arguing about it.
I actually, I used to do stand-up and I had a joke about Anton because I was doing research one day and I looked up his name. I wanted to know what his real name was. and his name is Howard. And I got to thinking, I'm like, wouldn't that be a cool Disney character? Howard the Satanist.
Yeah, I would watch that.
So to not confuse people further, because we did mention the term demon, demon is actually the original term was daemon, which actually just meant spirit or guiding spirit. So if we mention demon here, we're not meaning summoning some evil spirit from the depths of hell. We might be, but it could also mean a spirit.
Yeah, another word that was roughly equivalent in that era when it was used in that way is genius.
Mm-hmm.
One's personal genius, and it was thought of almost like a separate entity.
Mm-hmm.
But it was considered to be part of you sometimes, or sometimes it was even considered to be like this separate, almost like like guardian angel almost, but it would give you information.
Some might argue the original guardian angel.
Yeah.
Because who was it? Was it Plato that had the guardian angel, or was it Socrates?
I'm not sure.
One of them mentioned having a guardian or a demon,
oh yeah,
personal demon.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly who, but there's more than one famous philosopher that said something like that.
Oh, and what's crazy is even the view of demons wasn't negative until somewhat recent, because Pazuzu used to be viewed as like a wind demon. They didn't have that term in that area at that time, but it was pretty much a wind demon, which was perfect for protection and everything else. It brought necessary harm to get rid of the worse harm. And then later on, Exorcist happened.
Right.
And they used the symbolism of Pazuzu, but the backstory similar to Pazuzu's enemy Lamashtu, and combined the two into one evil entity.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's been a lot of negative press from horror movies
but
on a lot of these topics.
I was also wanting to bring up, though, when it comes to your form of Luciferianism. Now, there are some that do worship Lucifer as a literal being, and there's people that worship Satan or a viewpoint of Satan, like a different being of Satan throughout history, or Lucifer. Like some choose phosphorus.
Yeah.
You yourself, you view them as internal archetypes, correct?
Well, I believe that I try and keep my options open.
You don't want to go to hell in every religion.
yeah, just believe in all of them, right? No, but I do believe I I go back and forth sort of, but I kind of try and stay around the agnostic side, but I'm leaning way toward believing that there is a literal entity that is named Lucifer, or that's the name that is associated with that entity, but that I don't believe that it's appropriate or that it's even wanted to worship that entity.
That's interesting.
But that's my personal opinion. I know there are people who do worship Lucifer, and they have their own meaning behind what that means to them, and I respect that. To me, the word worship is connected with my upbringing, right? So I was raised Catholic, and so the word worship to me generally means to bow down in submission and say I'm unworthy, but all this stuff, right?
Like Wayne's World, we're not worthy.
Yeah, we're not worthy. Yeah, so that's a very Catholic thing, I think, to bow down and in submission, even, and fear. They say a good God-fearing Christian and all this stuff, right? And I don't think that that's what Lucifer would even want.
No, even if he was a real being.
Right. Whether Lucifer is a real entity, an independent entity with the, with the name Lucifer, which I do believe that there is, but I don't believe that Lucifer is to be worshipped. At least that's my choice. My choice is not to worship Lucifer. But the thing that I find to be more important than whether or not a person worships Lucifer, the more important thing to me is whether you are seeking to embody the light bearer archetype in your own unique way or not.
See, that's the beautiful part, because that's what that character symbolizes. And I honestly think, like, no matter which god, goddess, demonic entity, whatever you want to call them, they're all parts of energy, in my opinion. And they're all energy from the universe that comes to us, whether you want to call it a spirit or whatever. They're all energies that can lie within us. And if you channel that energy, whatever you want to title it, because your view of what a Lucifer energy and what another person is would be different. But that's how I kind of view it. And I think everyone views these things in similar ways, but we display it differently or word it differently. Is that fair assumption?
Yeah, well, there are some very similar concepts to this, which would include Christ consciousness.
Yeah, Luciferian consciousness, same thing. Same.
Right. Embodying the light bearer, would be roughly equivalent to achieving Christ consciousness. Or similarly, you could talk about embodying your Buddha nature, your own internal Buddha nature, and everybody has one. It's kind of we're kind of talking about the same thing, just using different terminology, and that speaks to me more than any of those other ones because of cultural baggage or whatnot.
Sorry, I keep cutting in because sometimes there is a bit of a delay and you have a pause in what you're saying, so I'm not sure when you're done talking, so I apologize.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I have a very weird thing that I'm working on where I do interrupt. And I'm trying to not interrupt people, but I think I have a little bit of the ADHD because I never know when.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is I think we focus way too heavily, not me and you personally, but a society as a whole, focuses too much on the wording of things or how we personally see them instead of stepping back and seeing our similarities, just we say it differently.
Right. And the more I study other religions and spiritual systems, the more I recognize a lot of the underlying concepts being the same under different terminology.
And it's weird. Science says things in a way, and if you look at the science discoveries, you're like, it's very easy to say that this religion might be true because of it, or this one might be true, because we're all telling the same universal truth. We're just saying it in our own personal ways. Sorry about interrupting again. I'm horrible.
No, I wasn't. I was done talking at the time. It's called the perennial philosophy sometimes.
Yeah, that is very true. I think we all just want to be right, and that ego gets in the way for a lot of people. Like, mine has to be right. Yours has to be right. There's only one true God. Why can't they all be that one true God?
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Because we have so many different languages. How do we know that we're not all right and we're just saying it in different ways? Like, it's stupid.
Sometimes they are, yeah. I do think, obviously there are differences between different religions, but I think that you can find overlap between, basically, if you pick any two religions, you're going to find some spots where they overlap,
You picked an interesting one, though, because your religion takes a different look on, and I've looked into Gnosticism before I looked into Luciferianism and stuff. Gnostic belief could very well predate a lot of other Christian denominations because back in those days you just had a certain book that people read or whatever. There wasn't a full Holy Bible at that time. So the Gnostics took a different take. They're like, that God is more than likely the bad guy of the story who trapped us here. And we are actually the gods, and he's just trying to be controlling.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different variants of that, and you can see a lot of modern film follows a Gnostic myth.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the most obvious ones would be The Matrix.
Yep, The Matrix, and even in literature, H.P. Lovecraft took a lot of Gnosticism for his universe.
Oh yeah, well he has this idea of a god called Azathoth,
Mm-hmm.
which is dreaming the universe into existence. And you have all these other crazy, wild-looking gods that their whole entire existence is just dedicated to entertaining Azathoth so that it won't wake up.
I actually have an ongoing joke at work, so I'm glad you brought that up, because at work, you can tell who knows and who doesn't. Because I was on the line, I work as a cook, and I'm like, with the way things are going, I'm going to wake up Azathoth myself. And you know who gets it, because they laugh. The other people are like, what?
Yeah. I'm actually a member of the Esoteric Order of Dagon.
Really?
Have you heard of that one?
No, I have not.
So that's the name of a fictional order in a book, one of the stories of H.P. Lovecraft called, what was it? It was maybe the Dunwich Horror, or the one with maybe I think it was that was a different one, or maybe they're in both, but the other one, yeah, it might have been in both. I think the other one was the one with Innsmouth in it.
How many orders do you belong to?
Well, I've been a member of a whole bunch of different ones, but the only ones that I still kind of think of myself as in would be the Novus Ordo Luciferi, which I'm, focusing basically everything on. And then also I still think of myself as a member of the Esoteric Order of Dagon, but I'm inactive because I don't have time to focus on it. But it's cool. There's two different Esoteric Orders of Dagon in real life that use that same name that was in one or more of the stories of H.P. Lovecraft. And one of them is Thelemic based, which is connected with the form of magic developed by Aleister Crowley in particular. Inspired by the teachings of Aleister Crowley, mixed with the stories of H.P. Lovecraft, and then that's the type of esoteric work that they do.
That's a very interesting combination.
Yeah, but the one that I'm a part of isn't that one. The one there was a split, and they both use the same name. The one split was people who didn't want to mix it with Thelema.
That's very Abrahamic of you guys.
I mean, I wasn't part of it during the split or anything. I just kind of joined like much later. Just a few years ago, I joined and I started working on some of the material and their inner teachings. But I didn't get very far because I had this the vision for the Novus Ordo Luciferi, and I went for it and I built it out. And I've been continuing to focus on that. But there's some cool stuff. They focus on lucid dreaming. And they have a lot of advanced lucid dreaming practices within that order.
That's interesting. You guys are. That's why you're a member of it. That's right up your alley. You are the
exactly
king.
That's the reason that I wanted to join it, and I hadn't joined an order in so long. That I wasn't a part. That I wasn't the head of. But that one, the more I learned about it, the more I wanted to become a part of it in some way, because I thought it was really cool. They see the works of H.P. Lovecraft as sort of an elaborated upon dream journal of H.P. Lovecraft, and that he was connecting with some archetypal shit in his dreams, and he would elaborate them out into full horror stories. And so the seed or the core behind those stories were dreams, most of them, that H.P. Lovecraft had, and then he used his imagination to flesh it out into like a proper horror story. And so they use those as a guide to kind of like that werewolf thing.
Mm-hmm.
Also kind of like the vampire thing that I mentioned, where they would do shadow work type of vampirism.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is a third option in a sense, but it's closer to the werewolf one. So the idea is that you connect with parts of yourself that go back in way beyond just domesticated human to wild human, you could say, even further back to all kinds of weird things,
far away,
like fish, like when you were some kind of fish creature or whatever, right? And even who knows what, and connecting with these monstrous aspects of yourself and even kind of shape-shifting into them.
So it's just another form of shadow work.
It's a type of shadow work. It's an advanced type of shadow work that uses lucid dreaming as the main mechanism to do that type of work. And there's a book. The reason that I'm allowed to say all this is because there's a book that was published to the public that has that level of information. It goes deeper than that, but you'd have to join to get the real deep stuff. But this is the book. What is it called? The Backward Path: Lovecraftian Dreaming and the Secret Lore of the Ocean by Howler Dalroth.
Dude, that's very interesting.
It's a pretty cool book.
So what do you think of like mock religions like the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster?
I love it. May you be touched with his noodly appendage. That's ramen.
and they think little people are like holier than everyone else because they've been touched by his noodly appendage so much.
Yeah, I love that one.
I have a friend that's a Pastafarian. She wears a little colander on her head.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I like it.
I like that, and also the Church of Latter-day Dude.
Oh yeah, I like that one too. I don't know as much about it, but I've come across it. There's another one that I am in the Facebook group for, and I can't remember the name of the Facebook group, but the premise is that it's a religion based on the idea that a lobster, every time it molts, as long as once they've molted, then they're really vulnerable, and oftentimes they'll get eaten or something. But if you could protect the lobster and made sure that it didn't get eaten every time that it molted, in theory, it could keep growing until it was monstrously huge. And then, so the idea is to do that and then worship him as Lorb or something like that.
A religion based around Futurama.
Oh, is that in Futurama?
No, Zoidberg. It's very
similar.
Yeah,
Zoidberg, yeah. Futurama is amazing.
You know what's crazy is The Simpsons got so much like publicity for like predicting the future, and then Matt Goering is like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a show that takes place in the future.
Yeah, it's one of the best. I like it better than Simpsons.
Me too, but it's weird because it keeps like taking long breaks. Like it seems like every
Yeah,
takes longer than the next.
I haven't seen the newest episodes that have come out.
They did a movie, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw up until the most recent thing that came out.
I haven't seen the movie. I haven't seen a whole lot. Like I was watching it pretty heavily, like early 2000s up until like 2010s, and even like up until 2014. I think I watched some older episodes. I don't know if they were making new ones at that time, but I kind of fell off. So I'm not too sure what's going on in the future world.
Yeah.
So recently I went to an event. I'm not sure if you're into this kind of stuff, but you seem like you would be. I went and saw the Ancient Aliens people. They were in,
Okay, cool.
Wheeling, and I'm not sure your thoughts on the ancient astronaut theory, but they have some good points.
Yeah, I think that there's something to it. I think that a lot of time they just are underestimating ancient humans.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there are some genuine things in there that are like,
Like, how did the pyramids get there?
Yeah, that's one. And what was their original purpose?
Yeah, and also they recently dug, from what I've read, under the pyramids, and they discovered Egypt was more than likely thousands of years older than we had originally thought, which makes it even more impressive if that is the case.
Yeah, that there's a theory out there that some of the pyramids and the Sphinx were there long before conventional Egyptology says that they were. Mm-hmm. And that they got modified, some of them got modified, but that they were created by a previous civilization and then found, which is very controversial. But there's some really interesting evidence that points toward that. And I think that if there is, it's important to know it, and whether it damages some people's pride or whatever, then so be it. Ultimately, I want to know the truth, and I want to know if we have information about a lost civilization that's been right in plain sight for a very long time, but we just didn't realize what it was.
Because all we know, there could be a whole other Egypt underneath that soil, buried. Those pyramids could have just been the tops of huge buildings. We don't know.
Well, they did some kind of radar type scans, right? Recently, and they found some kind of crazy underground structures.
Yeah, there's tunnel systems underneath of the pyramids.
I haven't had a chance to look too much into that, but it seems wild. What I did look into seems pretty crazy.
From what I've read is actually they had more than likely, it is theorized that they had elevator systems in those pyramids that was channeled by water. And it was made underground in their water system. The Nile would make the elevators go up and down, which is how they moved blocks. But how did they get out of the elevator? Because those are heavy ass blocks. But it's crazy that they had the technology. I think honestly, we've had more technology than we think we did back then. We're just rediscovering it.
I think so too. One of the coolest theories out there is that the Great Pyramid was some sort of power generating plant that was renewable resource. It was a renewable resource because it relied on some sort of chemical reaction that would reset itself.
I like how you said reset itself, because your lighting just went full blown red. It like reset itself and we got illuminated again. It was a really interesting time.
Good timing.
I'm like, what happened there?
I've got a lighting guy actually that did that for emphasis. They're like, oh, he's gonna say the line. He's gonna say the line. I'll make it really dramatic for you. Wouldn't that be cool? Just to have somebody sitting there and being like, and they could have like this soundtrack for you in the background that they're DJing live for you.
It was very interesting how quickly your lighting changed there. Like it looked like you're about ready to drop some like real satanic truth bomb. Like it got all red. It got all red and then you illuminated towards the end. Like, holy shit, bro. By the way, you guys, if you want to check out this man, he has a website. I'm going to bring it up again. If you want to join to learn more information, and you're not just necessarily I know you're a Luciferian Gnostic order, but you have a lot of information there on magic in general. I've noticed some of
that's right. Sorry. I cut you off there.
No. That I honestly, this is a conversation. We're gonna talk over each other. It happens. I get really self-conscious because I see other people's comments. I wish the interviewer would shut up. I'm like, nah, they're talking. Leave them alone.
Yeah, it's a conversation. You know,
like it can be conversation. See your way out or enjoy it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, there's all kinds of cool stuff on there that isn't Lucifer specific. You know, and as I said, I believe in embodying the light bearer archetype. That's my main thing, and that means to me, the light bearer archetype. We can look at it first by exploring a few examples, and that mini zine that you had there, Snake issue 1, that one actually talks about the light bearer archetype in particular. Mm-hmm. And the idea is seeking knowledge, especially hidden or forbidden knowledge, and sharing it with people who are looking for that knowledge. That's basically it. But there are elaborations and consequences and things like that. So often you are putting yourself at a certain level of personal risk in doing so, because there are systems of power that exist in this world and in the other realms as well, you could say, that rely on twisting knowledge and exploiting ignorance. And when you share the truth, you are often undermining power structures like that.
And I see that a lot because I'm an advocate for a lot of different things. And people are like, well, sharing knowledge is just esoteric, blah, blah, but it's not, because there's been so many times, like I'm a cannabis advocate, for instance. I did marches and stuff for like legalizing it in my state, and you hear so much ignorance being thrown around. And when I tried supplying facts, you get
right
an oppressive system because they benefit off of it being illegal. So you see that everywhere.
Right.
So
you end up sometimes getting a backlash from people who are benefiting from that power structure. They don't have to be running it, but even just people who are benefiting from it.
They're just doing it because that's what they were told.
That's also true. They are supporting it because they had bought into that ignorance that was being peddled to them. The either disinformation or lack of proper information. And so there is that possibility of backlash from those who benefit from the system of power or are caught up in the narrative being portrayed by that system. And you see this in the story of Prometheus, for example. Prometheus stole the fire of the gods. It was this knowledge that humans weren't supposed to have. and he brought it down and taught humans how to use this fire. And this made them more independent and less reliant on Zeus, and even allowed them to survive too, which Zeus maybe was kind of hoping that they might just kind of die out because he kind of didn't like them at first.
And it's very similar with Sumerian too, with Enki and saving humanity from a flood due to giving them knowledge to save themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. Enki's another one. Now, Prometheus got punished, right? By Zeus. Zeus was able to punish Prometheus, although if you read other myths, he also eventually got freed partially with the help of Hercules. But in the Sumerian story, Enki gave knowledge of how to survive these natural disasters that were the series of natural disasters that were going to be inflicted upon them by Enlil, which was Enki's brother. And he didn't end up getting a backlash, really, but it was because he was one of the top gods, right? He had so much, he was in a position where he could basically do whatever he wanted and not have any kind of backlash. So that's a good position to be in, The backlash part of it isn't inherent. And ideally you get away with it, to do it again, but the idea being that you are trying to empower people and emancipate them from systems of power that are trying to keep them ignorant in some way or another, and exploiting their ignorance. And that to me is the core of what Luciferianism is, and the core of the light bearer archetype. And there are humans that have embodied the light bearer archetype as well. Real people in history, not just these mythological characters like Prometheus or Enki or Pandora or Odin. There's a bunch of different ones. The serpent in Eden, if you consider that a separate character to Lucifer. And a human, the one that I like to give a lot is Galileo.
That's a very
Galileo Galilei. So he gave information that he had gathered from his scientific experiments that went against the established doctrine of the Roman Catholic Church, who was incredibly powerful at the time. And it almost cost him his life. But he recanted because they forced him to, and they said, otherwise we're going to kill you. And so he recanted. But the thing is, the knowledge was already out there. The Pandora's box had already been opened. That
was a very good pun there.
The genie doesn't go back in the lamp.
And those Roman Catholics, they actually know a lot about science. Oh, I love it. You're like, just what I find really weird, and I am going to mention this because I did send it to you on Discord. There are random people in history that people will go to, and not all people, mostly like the very extremist side of the right-hand path, will say, well, this person, like in my neighborhood, we had a guy by the name of Nathan Brooks, whom did horrific deeds to his parents and claimed it in the name of Satan. And then people freak out and like, everybody who worships that does this, or anybody who considers themselves this does this. But you don't see it in any other major belief system. When one person does something wrong, they
right.
everybody.
Yeah, like how many people who were considered themselves Christian and called themselves Christian ended up murdering people.
Yeah. Or harming
and
people.
Yeah, even in the name of their religion, doing horrible things.
Most ancient and modern wars are caused in the name of religion.
And look at the Inquisition,
Yeah. So Also, it's argued that in Ireland, I like to go back to Ireland and Scotland because we share that. Because I am of Irish and Scottish heritage. I know you're just Scottish, but when they took over, Rome took over Ireland, they were claiming that they were sacrificing people to these gods and stuff, when in reality, they more than likely weren't. It was a projection.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't really hear too much of that.
Oh, you're good. I can try. I can say it again if you need.
There we go. I can hear again.
It's all right. You're turning deaf on me. No. But no, what I was saying is during when Rome took over Ireland and religious shit that was going on, they were claiming that they were sacrificing, and this was happening all over the world, not just to Ireland, but they were claiming people were sacrificing other humans and animals to these gods.
Right.
But ignoring the fact that either more than likely wasn't happening at that time, because there's no evidence of such behavior, even though there was behavior happening in the name of the religion that was accusing them of that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I find it funny how so much of what Christians accuse other people of doing is often what they're doing.
Yeah. And I would like to do a little disclaimer here, because I do have friends listening and I got family that are Christian, and we're not saying all Christians.
No.
We're saying a vast majority believe that way. And there's a lot of good ones too, but what we see in the media is what we're talking about in terms of that religion demonizing people of other beliefs is not right, because 9 times out of 10, it's that particular person projecting their own character onto others, or just blanket statementing because just to do it. And I see it happening in the same belief systems. I don't know if you belong to similar groups than I do, but if you join different like satanic or Luciferian groups, they're no better than some Abrahamic arguments. Like the original Satanist was Anton LaVey. No, it wasn't. It was Aleister Crowley. No, it wasn't. It was, guys, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not that
No,
deep.
I fully agree with you on that. And I find that a lot of the work that I've done personally has been in an attempt to bring the community together, the wider community. Whereas when I was coming up, there would be individual orders, esoteric orders typically, that would kind of silo themselves off, isolate themselves in their own, silos, where they wouldn't really interact with other groups. But a lot of the work that I've done in terms of like when I established the Luciferian Research Society, and if anybody, that's a great entry point to, if you wanted to get in touch with me and the wider community of Luciferians and iconoclasts and just people who are curious about this type of thing, is the Discord server for the LRS, the Luciferian Research Society. And you don't have to consider yourself a Luciferian to be in there and check it out and interact with people. You just have to be respectful.
You guys have a lot of stuff over there, by the way. Like, I was impressed. I was like, Luciferian, it's probably going to be like the archetypal stuff of Michael W. Ford. He has a lot of cool information on demonology. So I'm going to see what my new friend Jeremy Crow's up to. I clicked there. You have stuff like Sumerian magic. You have Egyptian magic. You have Thelema type magic channels. I'm like, what does this? Is this guy's collecting religious documentation?
Lucid dreaming and astral projection, divination. Yeah, we have channels for all kinds of really cool concepts, and also for different specific popular esoteric orders within the kind of left-hand path sort of umbrella.
I honestly think that we as a whole, right hand and left hand, middle path, there are middle paths because we're all attached to both hands are attached to the same body in some belief systems. I think we should all, instead of focusing on differences and trying to argue, we should come together. I have several friends that have like metaphysical shops and stuff, and you have the Satanists over here, the Luciferians over here, the Christians over here. Nobody's fighting. It can happen.
Yeah, the further along on my path I go, the less important the terms left-hand path and right-hand path are to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I still use the term as a convenient umbrella category to refer to a certain collection of religions that I feel have a lot in common with one another.
And to help people better understand where you're at, because that's what they understand, right and left. Like, I understand still using it.
I don't really like the terms as much as I still use it because language, that's kind of how it works, and you don't always the time. But I think that it's just a convenient way of referring to like Satanism, Luciferianism, Setian philosophy, Sinisterism.
Would you consider any form of like paganism, left-hand, anything that isn't Abrahamic?
Well, definitely from a Christian perspective, anything that isn't Christian or Abrahamic at all is considered to be pagan or heathen. And so that includes anything. Literally, Luciferianism would be included in paganism from that perspective.
And although Satanism would be kind of, in their eyes, a blanket term that means the same thing as paganism.
Yeah. So it's a very reductive way of doing it. but I think that there's more in common with basically any of the ones that we've mentioned, that they shouldn't be separated like that. They should be more cross-pollinating and cooperating and coordinating and collaborating. I think all of those C words.
Like telling stories around a campfire.
And yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the work that I've done has been to facilitate that sort of thing. So the Luciferian Research Society I founded back in August of 2009. So that's like 16 years, that was not an esoteric order, not hierarchical. And the idea was that anybody who was interested in anything even remotely related to Lucifer or the left-hand path or the occult in general, it doesn't have to be one of the, so-called darker paths within occultism. It could be a lot of forms of paganism are considered very light focused, and that's cool too. But there was a lot of places for people that were more on, people call themselves a white witch back in the day, or light worker is now what a lot of people refer to themselves as. There's always been spaces for people who identify in that manner to talk about stuff and cross-pollinate ideas, but there wasn't really that much for what we refer to typically as left-hand path groups. And so I created that. There was always forums for individual orders, but there was never one for all of the orders to be able to be part of, and even solo practitioners, because there's a lot of solo practitioners as well. They didn't have a forum or a community to engage with the wider community unless they joined one of these orders, and then that kind of separated them from the other orders. So the LRS was, the LRS was intended to be kind of like this public square for the left-hand path and Luciferianism and adjacent groups.
I love that because I don't think just because you belong to one order, you shouldn't be able to branch out and join multiple or learn from each other, because you can always add or subtract to your practice.
I absolutely agree. And I think that it's kind of ridiculous that some groups force you to be exclusive.
That's no better than any other belief system they're trying to not be.
Yeah.
I don't get
So
it.
one of the groups, the Temple of Set, if you only go to the second degree, then you're okay to join whatever else you feel like joining. But once you hit that third degree, you're not allowed to join any other group that could be construed as a religious group in any way, shape, or form.
That's weird.
I know. That was always like, I always thought that was an interesting organization, and I maybe would have tried joining it at one point if they didn't have that rule in there, which to me, it felt like they had their way of justifying it, which they're saying that essentially the third degree is the priesthood of the order, and you wouldn't expect a priest to, also be a Buddhist monk or whatever, right?
No, but I would actually be more impressed that I have a priest that knows other things.
I think I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. And that's why I never joined or never applied, I should say, because there's no guarantee I would have been accepted anyway.
No offense to the Temple of Set, and I mean this with no offense, but even their view of Set as an Egyptian entity is not 100% historically correct. But you want a preacher to not be educated in other belief systems. Like, that don't make sense to me personally.
Yeah. Well, you could learn about it, but you couldn't join any other group that was considered religious or could be construed as being a religious organization.
That's crazy.
I wouldn't put any kind of conditions on members of the NOL like that.
I've thought about joining just to learn about all these different organizations and even learn about shadow work, because I do deal with a lot of personal struggles and emotional struggles, and therapy just never did it for me. And I was introduced by a therapist to Carl Jungian type philosophy, which is very similar to Luciferian philosophy, where the shadow self and you have to integrate it and everything else. So I thought about going deeper into shadow work, but I think I may need just more help learning about it. So I might join just to see what you guys are about, because I like the archetypal aspect, because I think very symbolically, and it's easier for me to give myself advice through the archetype of another external thing, if that makes sense.
So you also seek to become an embodiment of that archetype in your own unique way.
Yes, but there's also other archetypes that are like symbolic of certain parts of my shadow, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I have the main being, which is pretty much me, and then I have the archetypes, kind of like the Lucifer title, as a title, like a light bringer, somebody who I would like to be more comfortable in my own skin and more comfortable in my own mind and more accepting of my thoughts, because I have a lot of like past trauma that I would like to work through. It's not horrible trauma, but trauma is trauma.
Yeah, absolutely. Shadow work is great for that.
And I love that type of philosophy. Are you strapped on time? Because I don't want to hold you too much, because I do talk very long and strong, and I get that friction on. No.
So, fellas.
How did we break out and the baby's got back? You want to know what's funny? I got a funny story, and I'm not trying to release the inner Satanist in me and be an adversary, but this guy walked up to me the other day, and I was wearing this lovely sigil, which is the sigil of the Lightbringer.
Oh, nice.
And they were trying to do their whole prayer thing, which I respect. So I'm like, go ahead and do your thing. And I'm like, so what is your religion about? He's like, well, we try to find the light through Jesus Christ. I'm like, I try to find the light the same way, but it's a different belief system. Like we have the same, and I was trying to explain to them this, and they're calling me blasphemous. I'm like, no. We're seeking the same life purpose, just through a different philosophical lens.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying that the religion's exactly the same, because they all have their own aspects, but how about we look at the similarities instead of you trying to call me evil? Because we are seeking the same shit.
Yeah, well, I am an ordained Gnostic Christian priest.
I saw that posted, and I found that very interesting, because there can't be a whole lot of Gnostic churches left.
It varies. It goes up and down. There's ebbs and flows of it. And I was involved when there was a time when there was a decent amount of them. And they're small and they're all, and spread out, but there were a decent amount of them around. And I'm not quite sure what the scene is like right now, but I don't think that it's as favorable anymore as it was back when I was involved. But yeah, I got involved with the Gnostic Church of the Glorious Christ. And I did so as a Luciferian. Like I was had already considered myself a Luciferian at the time. And I spoke with the Bishop of Canada, of the branch of the Gnostic Church in Canada. And I told him exactly what I thought about Lucifer, and he agreed with almost all of it. And that's the thing about Gnosticism, Gnostic Christianity in particular. It's a very fine line between Gnostic Christianity and Gnostic Luciferianism.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that, some people might be like, what are you talking about? Well, look into it. You'll see it's a fine line. I feel like Gnostic Luciferianism is almost like expanded, that Gnostic Christianity really focuses in on a certain set of texts and a certain particular mythos that they really focus in on, whereas Gnostic Luciferians, they look at the mythos of all sorts of different religions, past and present, and they can identify certain archetypes within those different religions, like you were saying. And even in modern fiction and things like that, storytelling, you see things like Azathoth, and that's similar to the demiurge or the false creator of delusion, in a sense, of this deluded state or fallen state, some people even say.
And if you even dig even further into movies, you can argue, well, you can't really argue because you'll lose, but Star Wars was mythology. George Lucas was heavily inspired by, what's his name? I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Joseph Campbell.
Yeah, Joseph Campbell. He was very inspired by Joseph Campbell in his book, what was it, Art of the Myth?
Yeah, there's that, and there's also The Hero with 1,000 Faces.
Yes, he was big into both those books, and he just wanted to make a modernized myth of like the good guy, the bad guy, and then you later find out the bad guy necessarily ain't 100% bad. He was driven that way, and he brings balance because he's both good and evil. And that's all throughout history.
Oh yeah, the journey of the hero.
Yeah.
And there are different variants of that. Actually, you know what? There is, I can't remember the name of the video lecture series, but Joseph Campbell did a lecture series, and in one of them, he's explaining what the right-hand path and left-hand path is. And in his words, the right-hand path were the institutionalized, endorsed even religions of whatever society you happen to be raised in. And the left-hand path is the journey of the hero, where you become an outsider and you go off on this journey and all, there's certain elements to it that you find over and over. And he called that the left-hand path, and that you eventually you come back with you overcome and you get the treasure. And often that treasure is knowledge that has been gained in some way. And you bring it back to the original community that you came from, often is how the story ends up going in that pattern that he recognized, that formula. And often that knowledge is rejected initially, but eventually gets integrated into the society.
I think I saw those videos. I think they're called I think that's the Power of Myth interview that he did that you're referring to.
Maybe.
Because he did a movie, like a docuseries on it, I do believe. That was like an interview, and he spoke it, and then they made a book about it later on. Because I remember hearing him say that. And I forget who it was, a similar aspect of left and right-hand path, referencing magic. I think it might have been Anton LaVey, might not have been, but they stated there is no such thing necessarily as black and white magic. They're just as magic. It's what you do with it.
Right.
So I actually believe in that aspect, and I think where things get misconstrued is the term magic, like because magicians, like people on television doing all these fucking magic tricks. With magic, it's similar to witch's prayer. You're asking the universe for what you want in hopes you get it, and some people give gifts at their altar to the gods or goddess or whatever, archetypal energy, whatever they want to call it, in hopes to manifest that into reality through magic. It's no different really than prayer for some people, just it's a different thing for them.
Yeah, there's like a methodology behind it, and it could definitely be compared to prayer. Yeah.
Except instead you're asking God for something, the Abrahamic God, instead of a different being outside of it. It's kind of weird where things turn from magic to prayer and vice versa. It's a very thin
Yeah, and magic is a very broad term as well, and it can be broken down into two other main categories if you want, called theurgy and thaumaturgy.
Very similar words, but two totally
confusingly similar words. Yeah, that's why I took my time with it. And it's and theurgy or theurgy, some people pronounce it as. That is God working or something, and people could compare it to the word yoga, which means to yoke or to join. And theurgy is like trying to transform yourself in such a way as you can connect with divinity, or you can become closer to divinity or something like that, or connect with the inner divinity that's already within you, the divine aspect of yourself. That's theurgy. And then thaumaturgy is where you are trying to manifest specific goals, and they can be material goals, or they can be other types of goals that are not necessarily physical, but there's usually some sort of testable result that you could see whether it actually came about or not. And I think that both are valuable in the quest towards achieving the complete harmonized self, or the quintessence of self. And the reason why is that theurgy is the type of work that you could do that is like alchemy, where you are transforming yourself, trying to heal yourself and reintegrate the different aspects of yourself into a harmonious unit that acts as a single whole unit, because everything is in harmonious relation with all other parts of yourself, like a perfect yin yang configuration.
That's hard to do because a lot of people think those are parts of us that we have to kill off, but that's not necessarily the case. You just have to come in harmony with that and realizing that they're just thoughts, they're just emotions that you're going through, and not materialize it as a negative or even a positive. Just materialize it as a being.
I totally agree.
Because I think we fight too much with ourselves instead of saying, hey, this is just a feeling. We shouldn't have to fight it. It's part of us.
Right, exactly. And if we can figure out a healthy expression for it, then that's better than trying to shove part of ourselves down and deny it. Right. That's how you develop complexes.
I saw this meme I saw that I was going to post in the Discord, and it might have even been in your Discord. It shows this like an artistic picture. It says most people fight their demons. I have coffee with mine. It shows this guy drinking coffee with all of his demons.
Another cool meaning of the word demon that has developed, in modern times is that's what you call a rebellious angel or an angel that rebelled.
Mm-hmm.
And if you or fell even, yeah, exactly. But if you look at it from a Gnostic perspective, those are the angels that decided to fight against the demiurge. That the false god, they realized that something was up, and they're like, oh, I'm not going to follow this guy anymore because he's just trying to control everything and exert his power, and it's false, and it's from a position of ignorance and delusion.
But Jeremy, realistically, wouldn't that make us all falling angels then?
Well, are we angels?
Well, what's the difference between an angel and a demon?
Well, their alliance. That's it. They're the team that they're on, I guess. If they're on Team Human.
Well, if you look at, though, from a ancient perspective, though, Satan originally was just a judge. He was a judge for our sins. He was a judge appointed by God. So even he wasn't a fallen angel.
No.
He was on God's side.
Yeah, that's right. He was part of God's team.
So, like, even then, like, me and you struggling with our own mental technicalities.
Oh, yeah. There's so many different ways of looking at these things. It can make your head spin.
Dude, I love talking to you, though, about this stuff because it makes both of us question ourselves and each other. And that's the beauty of gaining knowledge, because then we realize that the old quote is right. The only thing we know is that we don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think so too. And, everything is symbolic.
Yes.
Everything, every experience is symbolic.
Mm-hmm.
And this gets into the whole Gnostic perspective that I have, where, we talked about the Matrix, right? Well, imagine, and actually this is an idea that you encounter in Hinduism, where there's the idea that the universe is the dream of Brahman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very similar to the Azathoth thing as well, right? Now, my perspective is close to those. It's kind of a variant of that there are nested dreams, essentially. So we are in a type of grand dream when we're having the waking experience, or the so-called waking experience, like we're presumably having right now. We could do state tests to determine if we are or not. Let me do one right now. Oh yeah, I think I'm having the waking experience right now. So yeah, I passed the test of the waking, but sometimes it's really tricky, and sometimes you are dreaming. You do the test, and you're like, "Oh no, I'm awake," and no, you're not. You're just dreaming.
When I
You're having
young, I had a dream that terrified me so much that I still remember it to this day. I remember it was really realistic dream. I'm not sure what was going on, but I remember waking up from it, getting off the couch, getting food, and then waking up again. And I got to the point where I woke up and didn't know if I was actually awake or not, because it happened a couple times where I woke up but wasn't actually awake. And I'm like, when is this going to be real?
Yeah, I've had that before too. It's called false awakening.
Yeah, like,
And it can be really disturbing because you keep having these experiences where you believe that you've woken up, and then it turns out, no, wait, this is still a dream. I'm still having another dream.
Going back to the Gnostic viewpoint is, how do we know when we're actually awake? Because we might be asleep right now. And also, what if, I don't know your beliefs on death, and that was coming, so I'll just go ahead and say this. What if when we die, all of us collectively, like each individual person, when they die, they wake up and realize that they were the God of the universe that they created. And we're all individual parts of that same, you can call it consciousness, whatever you want to call it, but we're all parts of that. And that is us.
I think that kind of does happen sometimes, but not all the time. I think that reincarnation. What's that?
You're so open with your beliefs. You're like, that happens to some people. Yes.
Well, I think that the whole process of reincarnation is kind of getting to that point where you can say yes. Mm-hmm. And it's a process. Have you ever seen Waking Life?
No, I have not, but I did see a video of yours recently. Sorry if it's changing the subject. It's similar. But I saw a video of yours that you said don't go towards the light, because that is how you get trapped in the reincarnation cycle. And I found that interesting. I wasn't sure if that's where you're getting at. But what is this movie about before we get into that?
Oh, you should watch it. I'll leave it at that. It's called Waking Life, and it's rotoscope animation where they film real people and then they draw over top of it, and then they remove the video from behind it, so that it's animation, but it's based off of filmed actors. And it's a sequence. What?
Send that to me on Discord so I get it.
Yeah, okay. There's another cool one by the same director called A Scanner Darkly, which is based off of a Philip K. Dick story. And Keanu Reeves is in it.
Oh, no.
And Winona Ryder, Woody Harrelson, Robert Downey Jr. It's a really good one. I saw it in the theater, and it's rotoscoped, and it's based on a story by Philip K. Dick, who also inspired Blade Runner, Minority Report, Total Recall.
How did this movie fall under my radar?
It's pretty cool. Yeah, watch that. Watch a Scanner Darkly, and watch Waking Life.
I definitely will.
Waking Life is a bit more chaotic. It doesn't have a solid, stable narrative through the whole thing, but it's very dreamlike. It's sort of replicating that kind of dreaming experience where suddenly now the whole narrative is different, and you just go with it for some reason, and you don't even question it, and it's completely, all of a sudden it's completely different, and you just going through like different dreams like that, and it has that kind of feel to it.
That's so interesting. That kind of reminds me, I don't know why, but that reminded me kind of like the Truman Show. Instead of being in a dream, though, you're in a TV show. Like,
that is a very Gnostic film, Truman Show. I love it. That's one of my favorite movies.
He's like, you in there?
Yeah, Jim Carrey's pretty funny in that.
Do you ever watch the Jim Carrey movie, to get a little off topic, the number 24?
23.
23, I mean, the number 23. I'm a little...
Yeah, I saw that at least twice.
It's my favorite Jim Carrey movie.
It's
Because
pretty cool. What was the guy's name? Something Finger or
yeah, Fingerling.
Fingerling. Yeah.
Yeah, Fingerling.
Detective Fingerling or something like that.
Yeah, and the guy that was
PI.
yeah, and the guy that was reading the book was, and that is also very Gnostic because he is the guy in the book that he's reading about, but his memory didn't serve him well. So it's similar kind of to. There's a lot of Gnosticism in a lot of art.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff in that movie, and I really like that movie, and the style of it is really cool too. The aesthetic.
Yeah, it's really gothic.
Yeah, I like that.
The only light part was when that he was talking to that woman in white, and it was like all real white and stuff. It was when she was trying to jump out the window.
Mm.
Yeah, that was God. Now I need to.
I should rewatch it. It's been a little while since I saw it, but I saw it at least 2 or 3 times. But it was so long ago since the last time I saw it. I should watch it again.
So Jeremy, I hate to cut it short.
Yeah.
If you ever want to do this again, it's been a pleasure. There's a lot of other things that we could definitely talk about.
Oh yeah, like we could have gone on for quite a while, I bet.
The only reason I'm cutting this off is because I do have another interview scheduled.
Yeah. I actually have something later this evening as well, in about an hour. So
same, about an hour. Check him out if you get a chance, though. His name is Master Sam Sharon. He is actually a dark artist. He draws cryptids. He's actually done
cool.
merch. He's done merch art and CD art for bands like Kiss, Iron Maiden, Rob Zombie.
Whoa.
Slayer. He did, I think, a tour poster for Slayer. He does digital art that's on his website. He even has one of Baphomet, which is very beautiful.
Cool.
And yeah, you should check him out. I think you'd like it. He actually did. Remember when they did Satan Con with the Satanic Temple?
Yeah, I do remember that event. I didn't go to it, but sorry, he what?
He was an artist there.
Oh, cool.
The Satanic Temple is very interesting to me because the more I dig into like your beliefs and Michael W. Ford's, the difference between Satanism and Luciferianism is Luciferians worry more about the world they're leaving behind, taking care of all of that stuff and spreading knowledge. Satanists just want to be adversaries to the church, but with the the Satanic Temple, they're kind of both.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that.
Because they want to spread knowledge too, but they also want to expose the hypocrisies in certain systems. So they're kind of both, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, they're trying to make the world a better place in some way.
And even the founder, his name is Lucian Greaves, which translates to being light protector. He's literally got the name for a Luciferian type belief system, and even their beliefs are very satanic Luciferian.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance within the community, and that's why I think it's so cool to try and build systems that connect rather than separate. And that's like I was trying to say, that's what a huge part of the work that I've done in the world and in the community has been towards that, like the LRS. And then also there was a conference that we didn't get to talk about that I call Flambeau Noir.
Let's talk about, because I wanted to talk about that. And I wasn't sure if you still put those on or because I saw years ago you did one. But
they're very infrequent, but they are really cool when I managed to get one produced. And the idea behind that is similar to what I referred to earlier with the Luciferian Research Society. Mm-hmm. So the idea of Flambeau Noir, which means black torch, which would be like a torch that's actually had fire on it. Uh-huh. And that's kind of like Prometheus's torch. And you can share the fire with others without diminishing your own. Mm-hmm. Right? I think that is a really powerful symbol. And that was about trying to get groups individuals who are from different groups and solo practitioners all into the same room together and sharing knowledge with one another. And often when I would produce an event like that, at the very beginning, you'd have people that had little kind of mini grudges against other groups and such, and they would kind of air their grievances with one another a little bit, but they would do it kind of in a playful way. And then next thing you know, they're all friends and all buddies, and these grudges have been dropped. And I think it's a really magical thing what happens when you get people in a room together and talking about their shared interests, which they all have passions for, this type of occult knowledge and such.
It's beautiful what you do, because you're bringing people together. You're not just wanting to be the bringer of light, but you're bringing people together. And light might be symbolic of wisdom or knowledge, but I think it's also symbolic of the type of energy you bring, a light-hearted type energy, and like trying to bring people together and trying to bring light into the world. It doesn't necessarily just need to mean knowledge, in my opinion. Like, for instance, there is an Irish god called Lu, who might be the light bringer of Irish mythology. He brought joyfulness, but he also brought wisdom. He brought all types of arts to humankind. So he's kind of the light bringer of that too. So I think there's more to it. Comedians could be considered light bringers because they bring their own truth in a comedic way. So I think
absolutely. I think that there are tons of light bearers, tons of Lucifers out there, and yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And you don't necessarily, like, that's what I was saying, that a person could have earned the title of Lucifer even if they wouldn't have recognized that term, as something good. The way that I'm using that term, that label applies to people that may have been complete atheists. They may have considered themselves a mainstream religion person of whatever religion was mainstream in their time. And it doesn't matter if they embodied that light bearer archetype in some way, then they are a Lucifer.
Well, there's actually a religion I found, because I was looking for covens near me just to see what there is. And there's one church, I forget where it's at. It's in Ohio somewhere. I think it's called Luciferian or something like that. And what they believe is they look at Jesus as an archetype of a Lucifer type character, and they worship him as a bringer of knowledge, not salvation, but they view him more so as a bringer of knowledge and from the divine, and they view him kind of in a Gnostic way.
Yeah, there are Luciferians out there who think of Jesus as one of several Lucifers. Mm-hmm. They believe that Jesus embodied that light bearer archetype in his own way. And the Bible would agree, because the Bible refers to Jesus as Lucifer at least a couple times.
Yeah.
So
it's not blasphemous to say that because the Bible says it.
Yeah, it's, if you think about it, a bringer of light, right? Why would you be offended at referring to Jesus as a bringer of light?
Exactly.
So,
Jeremy, what else would you like to promote? Because me and you, we talk for hours on Discord. It's with us, there's no shutting up. So,
yeah, no, I got to let you go, and I got to go and get ready for this other thing too. But
do this a lot. Let's do this again soon. But go ahead and promote any upcoming events, anything you've got going on. I'll give the floor to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thanks again for having me on tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity to have that discussion with you and to talk about these things that I love talking about. Now, my candle just exploded. I got a candle going here and it's just leaking wax all over the place. But anyways, let me get through this.
Well, I hope that wasn't a protection candle.
No, it was just for ambiance. But I think if people want to get in touch with me and they want to explore some of these ideas further and talk to other people in the community, I think the best place to start would be the Luciferian Research Society Discord server. And that is completely free to join, and you can get to know people and learn about a bunch of cool stuff. Now, if you want to get serious about studying in depth certain subjects like tarot, lucid dreaming, manifestation, self-hypnosis, ritual magic, and that sort of thing, and you're interested in doing it in the way that I had been talking about in this talk today, you can learn Luciferian alchemy if you wanted to join the Novus Ordo Luciferi, which is only $5 a month, and you can join that via the Patreon of that same name, Novus Ordo Luciferi.
So how would one join your Discord? Because it's not on the Novus Ordo Luciferi website, is it?
I can provide you with a invite link.
Can you do the one that doesn't expire so I can add it to the description?
Yep.
Okay, it'll be in the description below. Sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to make sure that information was out there for people.
Yeah, and often you can find it if you do a search online, because it gets posted here and there to Reddit, for example, or public Facebook posts sometimes have a invite link and that sort of thing. So if you can't find it for whatever reason, you can always look it up. Luciferian Research Society Discord.
And also, guys, if you want, I'll actually post it in one of our channels. You can actually join our Discord as well, not to compete with anyone else, but to bring together the communities. I'm in both. You can visit usenick.com. If you don't use Nick, you'll lose Nick. That's the easiest way to remember. Visit usenick.com to find more Usenick Unleashed information. And also join the Discord, both of ours. He's got a lot of occult knowledge. I've got a lot of funny knowledge. And I would like to eventually just intermingle with other Discord channels, including your own, and get our communities together. And just my Discord, I plan on having movie nights eventually.
Cool. Yeah, I want to do that again too. I've done it a couple times before, and it's pretty fun.
It's a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed this chat. Thank you for spreading your knowledge, your brightness.
Likewise.
Allow yourself to shine through the world, and I would love to chat with you again very soon. I'm sure we will. Much love, brother, and keep positive and keep sharing that information and keep yourself. Did you have a Band-Aid?
No.
Oh, that was a shine. Okay.
The shadow. The shadow.
But live long, rock hard, and blessed be, brother.
Blessed be. Have a good one.